welcome to the first time homebuyers edition of Ottawa Expert Show. I'm your host, Andrew Bradley, licensed life insurance broker. And joining me tonight is Brian Eustace. He's a realtor selling partner with Paul Rushforth Real Estate. With spring right around the corner, hopefully, hard to say with this snow we're having tonight, the real estate market in Ottawa is getting ready. Both sellers and buyers are getting their ducks in a row. And buying a home is typically the biggest financial transaction you will make in your life. Paying your hydro bill does come in as a close second. And Brian and I want to help you make this process as smooth as possible. So from using the home buyer's plan to moving in, we want to answer any questions you might have so you're ready to put in an offer when you find that perfect home. If you have any questions about buying your first home, you can give us a call at 613-728-1001 and we will try our best to answer them. And before we start, I would like to say that all advice given tonight is general in nature, and you should discuss your situation with a professional, as not all strategies are for everybody. So I'd like to thank Brian for coming tonight.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So tell us about yourself and what you do.
Well, basically, I've been in real estate for about 5 years now. I work for Paul Rushforth Real Estate, and I focus mostly on listings, buyers, and investment properties on the resale side of things for residential. And prior to that, for about 15 years, I was in the commercial industrial HVAC construction business. So, familiar with structures and buildings and so forth. So it was a very smooth transition. And that's what I do now. That's typically my focus.
So can you just tell us about what the Ottawa market looks looking like for the spring?
Yeah, sure. Well, the spring, it's been a little bit slow. The weather's been particularly not great this year.
No.
But that being said, January and February are typically slow in Ottawa, and the pickup is usually in March, and we're starting to see that now. If we look back at last year, for comparison's sake of things, last year, basically we hit a total of about 8,800 homes on the market at any given time. That was the peak. With a total of 33,000 homes were listed total, and 15,000 were bought. So as far as supply and demand was concerned, we had a less than half of a success rating last year. So we had a lot of listings that hit the market, and we are projecting this year that we're probably going to have, at any point, we'll peak out between 9,000 and 10,000, probably. Some people are forecasting above 10,000 homes on the market, and we might hit the 35,000 mark again for total listings, and we figure that the demand will be for about 15,000 homes again. Right now, as we sit, even though it's early, we're nearing the end of the first quarter, and at the end of the first quarter, we do have a 31% success rate, which is lower than where we were last year, but I think it's because of the weather, and I believe that we will pick back up and get into the mid-40s again for the year. And I'm anticipating as soon as March break is done, we're starting to feel the warmth a little bit, even though I'm pretty sure it's snowing outside right now. The buyers will start coming out. We are a little bit listing heavy right now. We hit the 7,000 mark of listings, which we'd rather be around 5. But we're at about 7,000 now, which is a little bit heavy. But we should start coming out more on the even side very, very shortly. Since January the 1st, it's been about 9 weeks, 9 to 10 weeks. We've averaged about 500 homes hitting the market every week versus about 150 sales. So, we're looking at a 3-to-1 ratio right now, and that should even out soon. So that's essentially where the market's going right now. Market's always good. It's either good for sellers or buyers, and right now it's good for buyers. It's great for buyers. If you're a first-time home buyer, now's the time that you want to get out.
Perfect. And what do you find are the most kind of in-demand homes right now? Is it single homes, townhomes?
You know what? We find that there's a real gap in the 300 to 350 mark. But 360,000 is about the average for a house, and that's pretty much the sweet spot. So the 300 to 400 mark, we're seeing a lot of sales. Over 500 has been a little bit tougher, and over 750 has been really tough. But yeah, I would say that range is right around. Average is always the hottest market, right? And the average is 360, so right in and around there.
Okay. What areas of the city are usually kind of the first-time home buyers? What's kind of preferred, east, west, south?
That's a great question. I mean, to each their own. First-time home buyers usually have more of a restricted approval for what they can afford. But Ottawa is kind of a sheltered market. It's a very highly educated market. It's a very in-and-out town. We have a lot of government, RCMP, DND, embassies moving in and out, and our incomes are very good, actually compared to the rest of the country. But as far as areas in the city, all of the areas are doing really, really well. It's very, very consistent. Obviously, downtown, Glebe, Westboro, Hintonburg, all that, New Edinburgh, those areas are always really, really hot. But you know what? The East End, South End, and West End suburbs are usually where first-time homebuyers are going. Although a lot of young professionals are also moving in towards condos. There's a lot of condos going up downtown. The selection has never been better. It's an extremely saturated market right now for condos, and a lot of them are moving in there as well.
That's a they're bringing up about condos because you always hear about in the news condo market, Toronto, Vancouver. We never don't really think much about Ottawa. How is the condo market here in Ottawa?
Well, since 2000, I mean, it's been borderline mind-boggling how many condos have been going up. Just to give you an idea, last year the resale market, the residential freehold homes went up about 2%, 3% in value overall. There's different values for different areas. But the average condo resale price has gone down almost 11% from last year. And that's significant. And that's a supply and demand issue. Everything is supply and demand. It's very, very simple economics, but the choices are phenomenal right now. Obviously, you get less square footage, but you don't have typically the maintenance that you have to physically do on your own as a freehold home, but you do have the condo fee that you have to look at. And there's a lot of incentives for lower condo fee, but just be careful of that because it just means that, paying now, paying later situation. But the selection is great, and they are gorgeous, the ones that are going up. Really good.
I mean, I enjoy shoveling snow more than one, so condo's not my cup of tea.
Me too.
I know lots of people that definitely hate shoveling snow right about now.
Yeah.
With the condo market, we always talking about a bubble and the housing bubble. Is that something that first-time home buyers should even be considering? I mean, the reason why I'm asking is you read a lot of articles and there are a lot of opinions about you should stay renting. Avoid housing. There's a big housing bubble going to come and it's going to crash and just wait it out.
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Typically, it would actually cost you less to own the home than to rent the home. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're paying above the cost of what the owner is paying, plus your utilities. So, I mean, the restriction in mortgage rules, though, right now is pushing a lot of first-time home buyers that were eligible last year into the rental market. They don't really have a choice. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of lenders, they want 2 years of buyers of standard income, sort of consistent income before they're allowed to get a pre-approval. So that being the case, it's pushing a lot of people into the rental market. But as far as the condos are concerned, that you were mentioning before, they're great for primary residents. Okay, right now, the city goes out of their way to regulate how much they can build and how much they can't build. Yeah. Now there's a densification plan in place, so they're really allowing a lot to happen. But you know what? For lenders, when it comes to a condo, you can't really come out of the ground until you've sold X amount. And I believe that number is around 60% of units sold before they're coming out. So if you see a condo coming out of the ground, they're selling. At the very least, they're selling. But if as a primary residence, it's not a bad idea to get in. Just make sure you're holding it for at least 5 to 10 years. Make sure it's a long-term plan. We have a very impatient generation in us, and that's okay. But just make sure that you're looked after properly and all of the ramifications have been spelled out for you before you decide to buy it.
So as we were talking earlier before the show about a first-time home buyer, where it starts, do you want to maybe just explain where as a first-time home buyer, they come to you and say, I want to buy a home.
Sure.
Where do I go? What do I do?
Well, the first thing you're going to go and do is see a lender. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You go and see your lender, your bank, whoever you're using, and get a full pre-approval. Now, when I say pre-approval, I don't necessarily mean call your bank up and ask them verbally, hey, our household income is this. What am I pre-approved for? I mean a full pre-approval that takes into account your debt service. So you're not caught with any surprises. Also, your full pre-approval will protect you on a rate, but you're not necessarily stopped with that rate. If the rates go up, yours can't go up, but if it goes down, you're protected and you will get that lower rate. So that way you're going to know exactly how much home you can afford. You're going to know exactly what your payments are going to be. You're not going to overextend yourself. And then once you see the bank, because I mean, the worst thing you can do is go out and see, this is arguably the biggest mistake that a first-time home buyer will make, and that's calling agents or someone to go out and have a look at all these houses that you love and setting your own expectations like, this is the house that I want. And then finding out that you're getting pre-approved for, say, $50,000 less, and you can't get that home. So do yourself a favor and make sure that you go and get pre-approved, a full pre-approval, then you come and see the realtor, and we'll get you set up on a search. We'll show you the homes. We'll do all market analysis for you and all that kind of stuff, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I like to recommend to people that are looking to buy a home first before you go see their mortgage lenders to sit down and go through your personal finances with your debts, your liabilities, get your credit checked, make sure there's nothing on there that you haven't noticed before that can affect your credit rating, and just do kind of a budget, just see how much you can afford, and because the last thing you want to do is purchase your house, get approved mortgage, and then the house for it, and
well, that's it. I mean, the pre-approvals, a lot of people, they max out on what they want to buy. Like, let's say they're pre-approved for $350,000. They're going to go and get something that's $350,000. We have to take into account, it's one thing that we'll do, that we'll sit down, as well as a lot of the lenders will do as well. We'll sit down and go over what, typical utilities will be. What's it going to cost to do this? What's it going to cost to do that? How much is maintenance going to be? You're going to have to change the filters on your furnace. It's not all hard, but you don't necessarily want to overextend yourself. That's right. And that's been a problem as well. But that's something that we can go through. We certainly want to protect our clients.
Yeah, and then as you get into as a first-home buyer, you're not aware of all the extra costs that you're going to have to incur once you live in the house. Not just paying the mortgage, hydro, heat. There's, if you have a lawnmower, maintenance, all that extra costs.
You also have to take into account your vehicles too. Yeah. Cost of gas, cost of insurance you don't control. Taxes go up every year. Yeah. And often it's not necessarily what inflation is, unfortunately. A lot of the time that those utilities will go up much more. If you're on hydro or propane right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That if you're on those things, they'll go up way more than inflation, and that can hurt you a little bit. Yeah. The other thing is once you get pre-approved, don't go out and buy a car, because that will that will affect you.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah, you don't want to, just because you're pre-approved doesn't mean you can go out and do anything. That's right. And you purchase any fire is going to hit your credit, and that could affect your
any major purchase after that. They're going to have to redo the pre-approval.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying earlier, it's about setting realistic expectations. Is that just because you are approved for $300,000, go out and get that max. There's all those other incidental costs that you really need to understand and be aware of.
Well, actually, moving back to the whole condo discussion that we were talking about before, a lot of times when you're pre-approved, it doesn't take into account what a condo fee will be. Yeah. So a good rule of thumb would be is that if you get a pre-approval for $280,000, or we'll say $300,000 for round number sake, for $300,000. And you're looking at condos up to $300,000. That's not going to work, because once it goes back to the bank once you have your financing condition and they're reviewing it before you firm up your deal, they're going to say, okay, well, there's a condo fee here of $400. Typically, every $100 of condo fee is approximately the equivalent of $25,000 in mortgage. So if you have $400 condo fee, that's the equivalent of $100,000. So now you're looking at a $200,000 condo. That has to be offset there somewhere. So once again, that's something that we can protect you on and make sure that you understand that one moving forward. Right. And you can also talk to your lender about it. Say you're looking at condos, and they can give you a chart as to, it depends on what the rate is and what type of financing you're going to get.
Oh, perfect. So would you recommend that for someone to come and see a realtor first, or go and get pre-approved first?
Well, you can come and see a realtor first. Realtors have a lot of great contacts that you can use. They've tested and tried a lot of them, and they understand. But as far as prior to going to look at a home, prior to being put on a search, you're going to go to see a lender. But you can certainly go and see a realtor first. That's not a problem. We'd love to sit down and talk to you about it. You'll get to know exactly what that realtor will provide for you. They'll show you what some of the what's in it for me's, if they're a team, an individual agent, whatever. And then after all that, if the agent asks you, so what's your pre-approval look like? If you say you don't have it, they can provide you with a few names, and you can go and interview some. So you can go and see a realtor first. Sure, no problem. We'd love to meet with you, and we can set you in the right direction.
Oh, perfect. Great, so we're going to go for a break now, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about down payment, which everyone wants to talk about.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
All right, so we'll take a break, and we'll be right back. If you have any questions, give us a call, 613-728-1001.